Hey, I've built an AI automated job application system that searches platforms like LinkedIn and Indeed, customizes your resume for each position, and then organizes everything so that you can apply to 1,000 jobs in the same amount of time that it takes to apply to about 10. If this is your first time seeing me, I'm Geno. I'm a serial entrepreneur and I've scaled multiple companies to over 6 and 7 figures, and most of that has been done through AI automation. I've built this entire system completely from scratch using drag and drop tools, no coding experience required, and you don't need any either. I barely know how to code myself. And I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly how I did it so that it'll be easy for you to follow along, even if you've never built anything like this before. So here's the dinner system. We have a resume template here, and this resume template is added into N8N. We then send an HTTP request over to a LinkedIn job scraper that just scrapes through every job on the list that we provide. We can do that through a custom search URL, so you can feed in whatever you want and then pass that through an AI to filter through the jobs, okay? Because some jobs aren't going to be exactly what we want to apply for, so we leave those out. And then after that, we take that resume template, we feed it alongside a bunch of job details into AI to have it rewrite the resume. Once we've rewritten the resume, we then feed that into what's called a markdown to HTML converter. Then we create a new resume. We upload that new resume to Google Drive. We share that resume on Google Drive before finally doing a little bit of post-processing through another HTTP request, and then finally moving on to the outreach side where we get emails, we confirm the validation of each email address, and then we send out the email to hundreds or thousands or however many people you want to send that out to. Okay, so now we'll execute the demo of the workflow so you can see how everything works. Okay, so you can see here that the node was executed successfully. Now, the next thing that we'll be able to see is in our email, we have a draft. So if I go to my drafts here, this is our drafts, and it says exactly what we wanted to say in our email that we typed. All right, here's the link to our resume. So if we copy and paste this here, we can pull up our resume. Okay, and you can see here the updated resume. Detail-oriented AI engineer with hands-on experience in developing and field testing autonomous systems, sensing solutions, and data pipelines. But basically what it does is it customizes it specifically for each job. You can go in and edit this more if you want to, but this is pretty solid to me. You can obviously extend this approach to fit more jobs. You can also say different things other than what's in the email template. Instead of customizing a resume, you can customize a PDF or a video or an attachment file or basically anything that you want. Really what this is a system that pulls email addresses and contacts the people who you want to contact. So do whatever you want with that. I've also included some variables here that you can update, including the Appify API key, the template ID in the Google Docs module, and the Any Mail Finder API key as well. And you can actually swap out whatever service you want to find the email address for cost reasons or whatever your purpose is. There are even free ways to do this also. And I'm going to include a link in the description so that you have access to this exact template. You can download it, use it for yourself, and you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do with any workflow that we build is we want to know exactly what we're building. So we want to know the scope of what it is that we're looking to create so that we know what steps to take. Because building workflows like this, it's inevitable that you will run into bugs and errors. So just to let you know up front, do not get frustrated. Easier said than done a lot of times. But just understand that it is a part of the process. I want to be very honest with you, and that's the reason that I record these videos like this, so that you can really understand how this stuff actually works. And I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into. Okay, so it's not difficult. You just have to keep going and be willing and able to understand that errors and bugs are a part of the process. And another reason I record these is because I remember when I was first getting started, I was looking for videos just like this. I want to understand what are the steps behind the scenes, what can I truly expect, that I can also begin to build these. Now, as far as the scope of the project, we're calling it an AI auto apply tool. We can add the word resume, we can say and resume writer tool. So we'll call this an AI auto apply and resume writer tool. First step is we want to compile the resume into a template. Second step is to scrape job postings from LinkedIn. You can use any platform, Indeed, ZipRecruiter. As long as you have the URL, then it's perfectly fine. Then what we'll need to do is compare the job post with the required skills and have an AI filter through it. Then we'll have a custom resume created to match the required skills on the job postings. Then we'll extract the contact details of the decision makers from the employer's websites. So it'll find the emails and contact information so that we can contact them that way. And then we'll send an application, email, and attach the resume. Now, another thing that I want to break down here. There are basically two parts of how we're building this. The first part is getting the jobs and filtering through the jobs. The second part is the outreach portion. I'm going to create drafts because I personally like to look through each email, make sure everything is organized correctly before I send it out. But it's perfectly okay for you to go ahead and send the email directly right away without necessarily having to review it, because what you'll be able to do is you'll enter a template and the AI will be able to fill in that template for you every time, so it'll send the message that you want to send to the appropriate hiring manager. Okay, so the first step is to get the jobs and create the resumes. And for those of you who want to send them out yourselves, you'll be able to do that. And then on the outreach portion, I'll also show those of you who want to automate the outreach and be able to send it out on your own, how to do that as well. And this works for more than just resumes. So if you run a business, you can find leads this way. You can contact hiring managers or decision makers. If you run a recruitment agency like me or help people get jobs, this is also a great way to reach out to potential leads, right? So it works. All right. I use this for a plethora of different ways to create business and generate income, and you can do the same. Okay. So to get started, the first thing that you're going to want to do is create a Google Cloud account. I'm not going to go over how to do that in this video here, but there's plenty of videos online that will show you exactly how to do that. I'll probably even create a video in the very near future as well. So keep an eye out for that. But just go online and search up how to create a Google Cloud account. It's very straightforward and easy to do that. All right. Now, once you have your Google Cloud account set up, the next thing you're going to want to do is create a Google Doc node. So what these are here are what we call nodes. All right. And nodes string together to create a workflow. So for example, we need to have the resume template, which I showed you before, here in order for the HTTP request node to be able to work correctly. Because if it doesn't have this information, then it won't be able to accurately know what file it's going to run off of. Okay, so that's basically how nodes work. So the first step that you're going to want to do is add a Google Docs node. Now, the way that you add a node is you just click the plus icon here on the right, and you're going to go here and you're going to search for the node that you want. There's plenty of different nodes that you can select from, right? You can see Google Ads, Google Chat, Google Docs. This is the one that we're going to click here. Or you're going to click the get a document. Okay, so the get a document is for documents that are already created. All right, so we don't necessarily need to create a document yet, but you're going to click get a document. After this, you're going to want to grab the document ID from the template. All right, so the way that that works is we go to our template. You see this string of numbers and letters here. Okay, after this slash to where it says edit. This is what's called the ID. You're going to want to take this from here, copy it, and you're going to want to paste that here. So once you do that, then you're good to go. You can click execute step and everything will be set up there. Now, the next step is the HTTP request. So for the HTTP request, we use something that's called Apify. All right, there's different platforms that you can use. Personally, I like using Apify because it has a lot of different tools for different purposes. Just go to apify.com. Basically, what Apify is a marketplace where people create different AI tools that you can use to accomplish whatever task you're trying to accomplish. Now, if I wanted to put in the time and effort to do it, I could easily just create my own scraper. But what I choose to do is I'd rather just find someone who's already built the scraper. Basically, just pay them a couple bucks to let us use it. So I'll type in the type of scraper I need, LinkedIn job scraper, and we'll look through the different scrapers that could be good to use. This one here has 5 stars and reviews, and I've used it before in the past. So this is the one that I like to use. Okay, click the try for free button, and then it'll give you an API key, and you get, I think, up to $5 or so in free credits, and each API costs a different amount, but it's really not that expensive. Like you can see here, I'm only at $1.61 in usage out of $5, and you get 8 gigabytes of RAM. And so it has the pricing here. It's $1 for every 1,000 results. Okay, so you have plenty of free credit. Okay, so once you have your scraper, you're going to want to enter a job search URL. Go to LinkedIn jobs, and you're going to search for the jobs that you might be interested in. You can type your location, and you can also use these filters as well if you want to use that. If you want to filter based on the date posted, experience level, salary, the type of company, whether or not you want to work remote, on-site, or hybrid, completely up to you. Whenever you're done with your search, you just grab this URL from up here, and you're going to copy it, and then you're going to go back to your scraper, and you're basically just going to add that here. Now, that's basically what you're going to do. Very simple and easy. Now, something to point out here. Me personally, when I'm building out tools like this, I probably run different test runs on N8N, probably at least 100 times a build. Okay, it's not unusual. And the reason is because you want to make sure that things work before you get too far along the build, and then you realize that there's something at the very beginning or a bunch of steps before that is critical that just isn't working. And that can affect the rest of the entire workflow. All right, so make sure that you test this to make sure that everything is set up correctly. All right, make sure that scrape company details is selected here. Number of jobs needed. You can increase it more than 100 if you want. I'll just keep it at 100 for now, and just click save and start. And you can just observe this here to make sure that it's running correctly. Okay, so you can see here that it's working, and just give it a few minutes to run. Okay, so you can see here, if I click on output, the results are calculating at the top here. The duration is here as well. Now, if you scroll down here, you can see the different information that it's finding about each job, the applicants who have applied so far, what's the count, the apply URL. And if you scroll all the way to the right here, you'll be able to see more information. Benefits, company address, description, employee count, company LinkedIn URL, logo, all of this different stuff here. So all of the information that you might be interested in will be here in this table. It finished the scrape. Now we have 100 results that showed up as we expected, and we now know that that's working. Okay, now the next thing that you're going to want to do is you go to the documentation for Apify. All right, so the way that you do that, just go to your search and just type in the name of the platform and type in like API docs. All right, me personally, if I ever don't know exactly how to build something out, this is what I do. I just type in the name of the platform and type in API documentation to see what we can find. Now, Apify has really good documentation. Some documentation on platforms is better than other platforms. All right, now we want to run tasks synchronously and get data set items. All right, so this one looks like it's the correct one. So this is the one that we're going to go with. Sometimes you might need to test different ones, okay? But just be aware that we always want to look for a curl or a CURL, all right? So we have this one here, which makes it very easy for us. Before we copy the curl, there's something that we want to do very quickly. We're back to the LinkedIn Job Scraper page. And do you see this ID right here? We want to copy this here because this is required. And we're going to paste this into the actor ID section on the documentation. Now, after we do that, we're going to get our API key. We're going to copy our API key, and we're going to paste that right here in the bearer token. Just copy the curl here. All right, just click the little copy icon there. And then we're going to go to N8N. We're going to click import curl. All right, you're just going to paste the curl. All right, now you click import, and all of this will fill in automatically for you. All right, now You're also going to want to take your API key from Apify. Go to Settings, click API and Integrations. Then you're going to copy. You're just going to go back to N8N. And everything after the word bearer in the space is going to be pasted in here. All right, so just paste your API key right there. All right, so that's basically all you have to do. Make sure everything else is correct. Send body is selected. All of this should already be filled in. So just double check to make sure everything is correct. And then once that's confirmed, then click execute step and you'll be good to go from there. Now, after we've done that successfully, what we want to create is what's called a limit node, because we scraped 100 jobs, all right? Especially in the testing phases, right before we actually use this to search for jobs, we want to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible, okay? So what I'm going to add here is a limit node. And basically what you can do is you can limit it to how many jobs you want to actually find. You can add it to 5, you can add it, add 5 or 10, whatever it is. I'm just going to put this at 5 for now, all right? And then that limit node, what it'll do is it'll pull 5 jobs from this HTTP request. And basically, out of those 5 jobs, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to filter through those jobs using AI. All right, so the way that we do that is, first and foremost, you're going to need to make sure you have an OpenAI account. All right, so make sure that you have that there. And then after you have the OpenAI account, you're going to need to add credits to your OpenAI account as well. All right. So I think OpenAI requires a minimum of $6 for their API access. All right. So make sure that you have that in place there, and then just set up your credentials. You'll have to enter your API key from OpenAI. And, you can look up information on how to do that online. Make sure everything else is selected correctly here. So resources, text. Operation is message, so message a model. I use 4.1 mini, but you can use any model that you want to use. All right, and here's the prompt that I have in place here. You can copy the exact prompt from here, but also if you join the free community, other prompts and everything will be there for you. So you'll just be able to download everything directly from there. So things will be a lot easier for you that way. All right, make sure you simplify output content as JSON is selected. And I like to set the temperature at about 0.7. Okay, basically what temperature is it determines how random or, what is the freedom that you want to give the AI agent to be able to create different information and things of that nature. So I put it at 0.7. All right, and that's a decent setting to have it at. Now, that's the way that you find that node is the same way that you found the other nodes, right? So you just go to the plus icon here, you type in OpenAI, all right, and then you go down and you select message a model, HTTP request node, same thing there. Okay, so all of these are pretty straightforward. Okay, so now the next step is we basically just want to go ahead and feed this into a filter now. Okay, so what we do is we add the filter node, and we want to make sure that the verdict is true. We go over here to this node and we'll just drag this over here. Okay, now I'm not going to do it again because it's already done here, but I want to make sure that it's clear so that you can see. And then underneath here as well, we want to make sure that the company website is not empty. And the way that we'll do that is we'll set this to is not empty, and we'll go to the limit node and we'll drag the company website URL from there. So the next thing that we want to do is similar to what we were dealing with before. Because these runs take quite a while to run through, and a lot of times you have to run 100 or even more executions on the workflow. We want to set up another limit node here. I recommend setting this to more than 1, but you can set it to 5, you can set it to 10, you can set it to 3, whatever it is, but make sure you add in this limit node here. So that way it'll cut down on the items that make it through the filter. So what you can see here so far is that we had 100 items run through the HTTP request using our Apify API. We limited it to 10, right? So out of those 100, instead of taking the whole 100, we just started with 10. When we run this for real, what you can do is just remove the limit node here. And if you want to run all 100 at the same time, no big deal. Or you can just set the limit node to 100. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Now we have 10 going through the filter because that's the limit that we set it to here. Then we set up another filter to where it has to be equal to true in this filter. Okay, so what we did here is we set it up to where there has to be a company website and the verdict has to equal to true. If both of these two conditions are not met, it will not make it through the filter. All right, so the 7 items that did make it through, you can see those here. Those will then go through this first limit that we set up here as well, right? So the limit is set to 3. The next step is to actually rewrite the resumes. Okay, so the way that we do that is we add another AI node here. All you really need to do is copy and paste the filter jobs module from here and paste that here. The reason why do we want to copy it? They've already set it up once. So you can just copy and paste that here. And then basically we want to make sure that we select the right model here. I personally like to use 4.0 mini or 4.1. It's really up to you, whichever one you want to use. Okay, but different models are better for different things and different purposes. 4.0 mini is less expensive than GPT-5 or GPT 4.1. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to go down and update your prompts again. The prompt that we put in before was focused on filtering the jobs. Now, this prompt is basically instructing the AI what it needs to know in order to actually rewrite the job description. And if you want these prompts, you can get them in the free community, or you can also get them obviously by looking at this video and copying it that way. Or you can also download the entire JSON file. So I'm going to have this entire workflow for you. So you can just click download and upload it to your own N8N account, no issue. So that's probably the quickest way to do it there. But make sure you have everything. All of these settings are set up the same way that you see them here. All right. And make sure you simplify output. And make sure output content is JSON. Even though I like to use this a lot, we don't need to check it on this one, okay? Temperature can stay the same. Now that we have the resume rewritten, the next thing we need to do is convert that resume to HTML so that it'll be easy for us to copy into our new resume, all right? So the way we do that here is we want to make sure that we have the message content added here in the markdown node. Okay, so I want to feed in this key here. All right, so this one here, you want to feed it in here, just paste that there. Then you can execute that step and you're done with that. All right, and now what we need to do is we need to create and then update a Google Doc. Okay, so basically same as before. Press the plus icon here, search for your create a new document node for Google Doc. And then after that's done, you'll be able to create a resume. First, let's make sure all of our settings are set up. All right, so make sure our Google Docs account is connected correctly, which it should already be. Okay, make sure you have your drive selected, your folder name selected. You can name your resume whatever you want, right? Like, can I name it something better, obviously, than this here? John Doe resume, obviously, yes, right? So it's really whatever your purposes are. But just make sure that, you know, like whatever the name is, you're okay with that name and it's organized. That's really what matters. Also, make sure you select the right folder so that your documents don't get lost and you can find them easily. All right. Now, we're going to come back to the share file node a little bit later. All right. I'm going to break this down to you in a second. But for right now, we're going to skip over this. Okay. So now this part here is a little bit different. All right. And the reason being is because this is tricky. So I'm not going to go through the logic with you as much on this one, but just copy this exactly as you see it. OK, and it should work for you. All right. So make sure that the URL here is exactly as you see it here. https://www.googleapis.com/upload/drive/v3/files. And then what we want to do is we want to take this create new resume information from here. So what we're doing is we're going to take this ID and we're going to drag this right here after this slash, okay? And then, you know, again, I'm not going to do it here because it's already done, but make sure you set this up exactly as you see it here. All right, so then make sure your predefined credentials type is selected for authentication. All right, now for the JSON file here, make sure you add in text/HTML. Okay, make sure send headers is selected, send body is selected. The body content type is raw. And for the body at the bottom here, this will be the markdown JSON data. Okay, so make sure this is added in here as well. So all of this should be exactly as you see it here. And that's done there. Okay, now what I want to show you is how we make sure that the share file node is set up correctly. All right, so in order to allow the recipient to see or access the file, we need to add permissions to allow them to do that. Okay, so we want to add a share file node between this created document node and this HTTP request. It's very simple. Okay, so we just grab this ID from here, we add that here for file, and then from there you can set this to reader or writer, whichever one, and make sure the type is selected to anyone, and make sure allow file discovery is checked. All right. This will make sure that the recipient, when they receive that email from you, they'll be able to click the URL and they can actually access the document that you send them. So that's a very important point. So make sure that you include that step. Now, for a lot of y'all that might know me on a personal level, or maybe you've seen different things that I've done, you know, I'm very heavy on outreach. The remainder of this is basically how do we actually reach out to people. All right, so all the hard stuff is already done. Now what we want to do is actually be able to send out messages. Okay, so we're going to add another HTTP request, and you're going to copy it exactly as you see here. Okay, so for the URL, you want to take that from your any mail finder document. Okay, you want to type in the AP or the URL exactly as you see it here. Or of course you can go to the documentation for any mail finder. You can find it and you can input it that way as well. But either way is fine. All right. Now make sure your method is set to post, and make sure that headers is selected, and make sure that everything is exactly as you see it here. Now, any lead list, a lot of times what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to pull contacts, right? Half the time you'll have an email address, the other half you might not. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we confirm that the email is actually included in the contact who we're reaching out to. Okay, so what we want to do is we set up another filter, and we say that, and the condition on this filter is that the email is not empty. Okay, so the way that we do that is we just go here, we drag the email here, and we'll add that here as a condition. All right, and we want to make sure that this is selected on the right side here to is not empty. All right, and it's really that simple. And the next thing, so in this example, I set up a draft, but I'm just setting up a draft just because I'm showing you how to do this correctly. Okay, now I want to show you real quickly what the difference is between the two. Now, if you want to change it from draft to send, all you got to do is select message here. It's going to give you the option to send. And once you do that, if you want to send, you'll need to input the email here. Okay, so that's very important to know. So with the draft, you can't do this, but if you want to send them directly, you just drag the email node here. All right, and it'll automatically send to the email. All right, but right now, like I said, we're just going to go with the draft. So for the draft, you're not going to be able to input an email in advance. All right, so just be aware of that. All right, so if you set up a draft, you're like, oh, well, why isn't it carrying over the email? It's because you need to set it up as a send if you're actually trying to send the emails. Now, the next thing that you can do after you have that set up, you'll be able to send out emails automatically based on information that you have. So what you can do, you can type up your email. You say, hey, you know, whoever the person's first name is. Now, the way that you determine the first name, type this in exactly as you see it here. Okay, so what you'll do, and I'll actually redo this one so you can understand what I'm talking about. All right, so now before we add that in there, all right, basically you'll be able to type up the message that you want to send automatically. So you can see here, this one says, hey, I saw your job posting, just wanted to reach out and let you know that I'm the right fit for the whatever the position is. So, you know, you can input the position here from the previous HTTP request by just going here. So you can go to the jobs filter and just drag the title and add that here. Okay, so that's how we got this HTTP request .item.json.title here, and that'll automatically plug in the job title. Okay, so you can see here it says AI/ML scientist/developer, right? It'll automatically add that in here. So it'll say, I saw your job posting, just wanted to reach out and let you know that I'm the right fit for the AI/ML scientist/developer job. Okay. So that's how that works. Then the rest of the email here says, I actually used AI to scrape your contact information and send you this email. I know that you'd probably prefer to have someone show you that they're qualified for the role rather than just telling you. So to be transparent, I built this AI tool that I'm using now to scrape your job posting, customize my resume, and send you this email with everything included. This is my way of showing you that I'm good at what I do. Okay, so just so you know, the reason that we're structuring this email like this is because a lot of times hiring managers, they'll just say, oh, well, just go apply to the job, right? Of course, you can do that too. But this shows them that we're actually using AI to show them that we can actually do the job that they're asking us to do. Okay, so this is a great way to really catch the attention of hiring managers who, they think like entrepreneurs, a lot of them, right? Because you might actually be reaching out to the CEO or the founder, right? So if that's the case, this is a really good way to catch their attention and show them that you're actually capable of what you're doing. And the rest of the email says, would love to show you / your hiring manager how I built it and chat more about how I can help. And then what we did here for this text is we plugged in the company name. Okay, so you just drag the company name here and you input there. All right. We help XYZ company build necessary AI tools to accelerate company growth. My resume is below. Let me know what day / time is good for an interview. And then we add our URL here for the resume that was created. Okay, so we'll just go here, go to create new resume, and we'll add our ID. All right, so drag this here and input that wherever you need it at the end. We'll say best Geno, or thanks Geno, or whatever you want to close it with. Okay, so that's how we do that there. But what I wanted to show you up here is with the name, this can be tricky because if you look at the input, we only get the full name. We don't have the first name added here. Okay, so we'll drag the person's full name here. Okay, and this is what it looks like after we drag the full name. But after we drag the full name, you can see here I added some text after this. So you see how this says get email.item.json person _ full _ name. What we added here is this here. Okay, so we're going to add .split parentheses quotations space quotations parentheses .first parentheses. Okay, and that will make it so that we pull the person's first name. All right, so I won't do it all over again, but basically copy it exactly as you see it here, and this will make sure that you only pull the first name. So you can see here in the result, it has just the first name. It doesn't have the full name when it's typed like this. All right, so just be aware of that. All right, and that's pretty much it. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and run this workflow one more time, and I'm going to show you the result that we get. All right, so we've already had this stuff pinned, so it moved a bit quicker, right? If you didn't have it pinned, then it could take a little bit longer. But let's see what we have. All right, so you can see here, this is our draft, and it says exactly what we wanted to say in the email that we typed. All right, here's the link to our resume. So if we copy and paste this here, we can pull up our resume. Okay, you can see here the updated resume. All right, and the summary is here. Detail-oriented AI engineer with hands-on experience in developing and field testing autonomous systems, sensing solutions and data pipelines, so on and so forth, right? But basically what it does is it customizes it specifically for each job. Okay, so obviously you can go in and edit this more if you want to, but this is pretty solid to me. Again, this is an example resume here. If you want to change different things about the spacing, then you can do that in the format on the workflow. But yeah, this is it. And the last thing that I like to do when I create different workflows here is, in case I ever come back to this later, you can always add a note here. The way that you do that is you just go over here and you click this icon here that says add sticky note. and then you can type in whatever you'd like on your note. Okay, so what I typed in on this one is your title, and then I say remember to update your resume template ID in your Google Docs module, your API key for Apify in the first HTTP request module, and your email finder API key in the second HTTP request module. Okay, so you can add there whatever you need to add to remind yourself or anyone else how they can come back to that and use it for themselves as well. And that should be it. And there you have it, a complete AI job application system that transforms the tedious part of job hunting into a quick process. Now, the system that I built automatically finds relevant jobs, creates personalized resumes for each position, and then organizes everything. So you can apply to hundreds and thousands of positions in the time it would normally take to apply to a few of them manually. And as promised, you can also get this complete template and workflow 100% free. I put together a downloadable version with all of the components that we just built or that we just went through here, plus some setup instructions. Okay, so just check the link in the description or around this video. And basically, all you would need to do is upload this template and you'll be good to go. And you can start using the system today. All right. And if you guys are curious about learning more automation skills like this, then I highly encourage you to check out the free community that we're building on School. It's my community where basically I teach people exactly how to build businesses and systems just like this that you just saw. Okay, so whether you want to automate your job search or maybe streamline some personal workflows, set up automations to bring in new clients on autopilot so that you don't have to be doing everything manually every single day, or even turn your AI automation skills into income, is very abundantly possible. Okay, you just need to understand the fundamentals and really learn some things on how to do it consistently daily so that you can do outreach and put yourself in front of the people that ultimately have the money in their hands and are willing to pay you. Okay, so if that sounds like something that you want to get into, definitely check that out. Join the group by clicking on the link below. And otherwise, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.